Hello, welcome back from the break. Welcome everyone to the Climate Change Adaptation Lightning Talk. My name is Ollie Guinan. I'm the engineering manager of the team that built Dynamic World and CloudScore Plus. I also lead the Earth Engine Data Catalog team and the Environmental Insights Explorer engineering teams. I'm here today with my colleague William Ruckledge. William was also one of the co-creators on CloudScore Plus. He was also deeply involved in Project Sunroof and has written many of the Earth Engine classifiers that you all know and love. So it's almost certain you've used some William code in your lifetime along the way. Today I'm really excited for this session. We're going to hear 10 lightning talks. We're going to have topics around mitigating climate change through carbon emission reductions and nature-based solutions. So quick sort of overview of the rules here. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to deliver their talk. We're going to be really tight on the time. We'll have a sign to hold up. It's going to look like this. It'll look like applause. So William will let the speaker know when they have 1 minute remaining in their talk. Then he'll hold up a sign when the time is up, and everybody will enthusiastically applaud and thank the speaker for their work. They will keep applauding until the speaker stops speaking. We will be slightly rude, and then we'll move on to the next speaker. So to fit in all the speakers, we won't have time for Q&A during the talk. But if you hang around in the room here afterwards, the speakers are going to be available to answer some questions, or of course you can chat with each other offline over the next couple of days as we go. Okay, and of course we'll have lots of networking opportunities later tonight as well, I should mention that. So let me see, our first speaker. So our first speaker is Dr. Yifeng Ban, professor at the KTH Royal Institute of Technology and Associate Director of Digital Futures. Dr. Ban is the professor and director of the Geoinformatics Division at KTH Royal Institute of Technology and an associate director for dissemination and impact at Digital Futures in Stockholm, Sweden. Dr. Ban is very, very accomplished. She has many achievements. Professor, I'm sorry, I should have said professor, not doctor. Come on up and you can start your first talk.
Thank you Thank you. On behalf of my team at KTH and Digital Futures, I would like to tell you about our work on AI and GE-powered insights for wildfire monitoring and its environmental impact in terms of biomass loss and CO2 emission. As you all know, due to climate change, wildfires have increased in frequency, intensity, and duration in recent years. There have been many wildfires in Southern Europe, Canada, and Australia, and many across the world. And it does have devastating impacts in terms of burning of biomass, emission, pollution, and those are CO2 captured by Sentinel 5P on a daily basis. You can see the effects of burning fires in Canada. Many people, over 100 million people in the US were affected. So the UN has decided to establish early warning systems for all to implement climate adaptation, mitigation, to support climate change, approach. And Earth observation, detection, monitoring, supported by Earth observation is one of the 4 pillars of this. So the work from Google's engine community is very important. So our research objective first is to leverage AI and GE for near real-time detection and monitoring of wildfires. And the second objective is to link wildfire to the biodiversity, biomass loss. And the third is linking it to CO2 emission and how to estimate that. And as you can see, all these wildfires from Canada for the last 20 years, a lot of areas being burned. However, we don't have like the data for estimation in 2022 or 2023. So the near real-time estimation is not only important for emergency response, also important for estimation of the CO2 emission and pollution. There are many multi-sensor satellite images from Planet to Sentinel-2, VIIRS MODIS, and also radar satellites, Sentinel-1, RCM from Canada. So that radar images in particular here, you can see that it can detect fires even if it's cloudy. So there are many possibilities for monitoring. We also have good labels. Using deep learning, we need a lot of labels. So it's really important to, to look at how do we make these deep learning models not only working in the area US and Canada with good labels and also globally. So we have developed unsupervised geospatial domain adaptation approach for this using unlabeled data to also help with the training. So we have demonstrated that domain adaptation improved generalization across regions. And there, this is a preliminary result. The work is ongoing. And also using, using the diffusion models actually developed by Google, we're able to fuse high resolution and low resolution images. And here are the fusion result. And in terms of biomass estimation, JIDI is one of the products, but it's not without problems. It's missing some areas, and also it's not wall-to-wall. And the local data is not complete. However, we were able to look at the loss of biomass trend in Canada, and mainly from trees, as you can see, and rangeland. And in next year, a biomass mission will be launched by European Space Agency. We're expecting better biomass estimation. And the CO2 emission, this is a modeled result from the EU Copernicus CAMS in Canada and also globally. And we are able to show the monthly products, so you can do a better estimation using sensors. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Archie Saha, a research assistant from Pune Knowledge Cluster. Ms. Saha holds a postgraduate degree in applied sciences and currently works as a research assistant at Pune Knowledge Cluster on projects revolving around geospatial analysis, data modeling, and data visualization. So come on up.
Thank you so much for the warm introduction. Hi, I'm Atreyi. I'll be talking about how Google tools are used for accounting current carbon stock and developing a model to predict the carbon sequestration potential for 2030 for the city of Pune, India. This is a story of the city of Pune in the state of Maharashtra in India, where Pune has embarked its journey of carbon neutrality. And when we look at a carbon neutrality journey, we have to look at the emissions on one side and the carbon sink on the other. And we need to know how and where we are standing today, right? So the initiative looks at calculating, estimating, and predicting the carbon sinks. And Pune has a tree census data from 2017, which has around 40 million trees with 20 plus attributes that has been used as a baseline for our preliminary study. Current carbon stock has been established using Chavez allometric equation using species-specific information. The change will be recorded in two different ways. One is we are using ground truthing, where we are changing the tree cover by recording the tree growth of different species across the city and recording the new growth and the recruitment and mortality over the years. And two, we are also collecting the satellite data for the period and recording the land use change against a vegetation index called the NDVI, which is Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, which is basically for studying the vegetation of an area. And this data over a period of 4 years will enable us to build a computational model for biomass estimation. Apart from calculating the carbon stock, we also analyze the data to look at the geospatial spread of the tree cover across administrative boundaries, the abundance and the diversity of the species, and then we establish some statistical considerations which help us to make us a sampling strategy for subsequent data collection. This is a Google My Maps display of the sampling sites that we have considered for our tree growth study. And when we are recording the growth parameters for the trees, we are identifying it on the basis of the girth size classes, the species, and the spatial distribution across the city. And this is Google Data Studio representation of the sites that we have chosen for our recruitment and mortality study based on the random sampling on a combination of tree density and nativity. Google My Maps was also used for censusing the trees of these grids. Inaccessible areas within the grids are also used for identification of the ground conditions. Both this and the tree growth mentioned earlier would be helpful for us to access the change of vegetation over time. And this is the part of recording the change in green cover using the satellite data. So on your left, you can see that's a temporal change of vegetation over the years, which is like a 10-year period. And on the left is NDVI-based classification over 1 year. And we have used supervised classification in Google Earth Engine to identify the green cover and use the ground data recorded earlier just to build a correlation, basically, like you can see here, between the green cover index with change in tree biomass. Again, there is the temporal comparative representation using Google Earth Engine to represent the land use study. And this is the change in over 10-year period. And land use change, and this will enable us to establish a relationship between, again, the land use changes and the change in biomass. The work will be accessorized with some tools to make it more of an action research, so one of which is encouraging institutional campuses to go carbon neutral by providing them an account of their carbon sink and making the tools available for monitoring. An interactive platform for government bodies, civil society organizations, as well as individual citizens alike for promoting monitoring and maintaining the saplings is a tool that is built in-house called Connect Tree, which helps us to authorize for better planning, monitoring, and improving the city's green cover. This is how we envisage Pune's journey of carbon neutrality. And with this, I want to also thank Google team for making such super interactive tools for helping our research and giving us the opportunity to showcase our work.
Okay, our next speaker is George Porto Freire, a PhD student at UBC Canada and an environmental analyst at IBAMA in Brazil. George is a PhD student at the University of British Columbia, has a professional master's in geoprocessing and management from the University of Avignon. And between 2008 and 2019, he was the general coordinator of the environmental monitoring and information sector at the Brazilian Institute of the Environment and Renewable Natural Resources. George.
Thank you. Well, I work for IBAMA, as you mentioned, and my first workplace was in this yellow circle in the Amazon region, where I have lived for 5 years, fighting to reduce deforestation rates. Our daily struggle is to deal with hundreds of satellite alerts to identify people who are responsible for these environmental crimes, and then apply fines, seize their equipment, illegal timber, and weapons. We use these alerts to know where we should go in the ground, but in the last 5 years, we received more than 300,000 satellite alerts, averaging 170 per day, which is impossible to visit all of them on the ground. In this slide represents the red dots is from August 30 last year, when we received more than 1,600 in one day. So the short name for this talk, enough, I am doing more alerts, is actually an ironic joke. We don't want and we don't need more alerts. In fact, these numbers are so high because there are several reasons. One is related to, whoa, this is amazing, related to cloud cover, which hides deforestation. When clouds dissipate, the deforestation comes all at once. Another reason is because the systems detect each new increment as a new detection, even if they are part of the same deforestation. It made sense in early 2000s when we had more than 20,000 square kilometers per year as deforestation, and there were no early warning systems. But over time, the people who carry out this illegal activity noticed that small spots of deforestation or those who take longer to be done are not detected or doesn't get the priority to be inspected on the ground. So we concluded that we don't need more information, we need a better information. And in this case, we are using a global forest watch, a data source made by the University of Maryland and the University of Wageningen. They use a Landsat and Sentinel-1 and 2 imagery covering this whole belt, more than 80 countries, and process it every day with Google Earth Engine. Actually, unlike other systems which produce vector data, this one is a raster, and where the value for each pixel represents the date where the clearance occurred, the deforestation. And here you can see how many pixels were cleared over time, per week. And this is the whole process, but I will focus only on the metrics generation. The idea is pretty simple. We first run a clump function to identify contiguous pixels with deforestation. We can apply a threshold to avoid isolated pixels, and then we scan each clump to collect the minimum and maximum date, the earliest and the oldest date. And with this data, we can calculate the speed of deforestation for this single deforestation. Then we convert to a vector data. We calculate also a convex hull, and then with the difference between these two, we can calculate a completeness index to know the final, to predict the final size. The next step will be to train a random forest regressor model to aggregating other information like region or season and biome, and with all these metrics, to be able to predict which deforestation can become a major deforestation and be able to avoid, to promote an intervention in the ground and avoid this deforestation, prioritizing better the actions on the field. If you want more information, you can follow this link. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Mar Roca Mora, an oceanographer and GIS enthusiast working on the improvement of marine and coastal integrated management through remote sensing technologies. She focuses on using satellite and drone imagery to map seagrass habitats and monitor blue carbon accounting in coastal environments. She's currently working on her PhD at the Institute of Marine Sciences of Andalusia, and based in Berlin. She's working with the German Aerospace Center and the Global Seagrass Watch project.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to talk about seagrass mapping and blue carbon accounting. But first of all, I want to do the framework for blue carbon. Blue carbon is focused on rooted vegetation in the coastal zone, including seagrasses, salt marshes, and mangroves. And when looking to seagrass carbon storage, most of the carbon is stored in the soil, what means a long-term carbon sink. To have an idea about seagrasses sequester carbon 35 times faster than tropical forest. We need to store more carbon, and these plants play an important role in climate change mitigation as natural carbon sinks. But however, we've lost a third of the global extension, and only 18% of the coastal ecosystems are under protection. Oceans are losing, to have an idea, a football field of seagrass every 30 minutes. This is the map of the seagrass extent around the world, and these countries are the only ones that have seagrasses in their agendas. I'm going to focus in this study area in the Mediterranean Sea, and especially in the Balearic Islands, because they have a very huge seagrass meadow that is considered the biggest organism in the world because they generate clones. This is the seagrass that I'm talking about. It ranks among the most productive of all marine ecosystems, and among all seagrasses, it has the highest carbon sequestration rate. That means that less area has a higher carbon sink. But it's really threatened by anchoring. You can see this is from the Balearic Islands, and this generates a release in the sequestered carbon back to the water column and then back to the atmosphere. This is the workflow that we used in Google Earth Engine, especially for the scalability. In this case, we use Sentinel-2 level 1C images, this number of images. We generated reference data and validation data, and then we run a classification to generate the blue carbon accounting. First of all, we run this multi-temporal composite of Sentinel-2 for 7 years. This is how it looked like. We applied cloud masking, the 20th percentile, and water and atmospheric corrections, because we cannot use level 2 data because it was corrected for land purposes. This reference data is the one we used. We generated training data for photo interpretation. The validation data was took from in situ measurements. And here you can see the reflectances and how the class of the seagrasses is really differentiated between sand or rocky bottoms and optical deep waters. This is the mapping result with 92.5% of overall accuracy. And here you can see the confusion matrix. And this is the seagrass stand that we mapped for all the islands. Here you can see the Sentinel-2 composite, and this is the result. We also have the statistics per depth, because the blue carbon accounting is different when you go deeper. But how much carbon? How can we transfer these values? This is the important part. So through bibliography, we have these 48 samples. So this is the value of mean carbon stock per square kilometer in these seagrasses for the area. And for the extent we mapped, we have 8.35 million of megagrams of organic carbon. There are other data sets for global carbon stock, but these are not accurate, so we need to generate these regional data sets. And the last part is how we transfer this blue carbon accounting to numbers in the carbon markets. So these are the values. These are the values for the carbon markets for the last year and this year. You can see for the European market, it rises 22 points, but for California market, only 2.5 points. And these are the values for all the Balearic Islands for megagrams of CO2 that will cost the blue carbon credits for the both markets. So I just want to say that the synergy between Earth observation satellite solutions and in situ carbon data can accelerate the effective policy making and generate a baseline for blue carbon credits, so we can have with the blue carbon credits an extra funding for restoration and protection of seagrasses. So thank you very much. This is my information. If you want to catch up in the next discussion, I will be open to it.
Okay, our next speaker is Avi Pachuri Pertwili. I hope I didn't get that too wrong. I'm sorry. A research associate at the DLR, the German Aerospace Center. She was currently doing research on 2 projects related to Earth observation using optical satellite images, Global Seagrass Watch, which we just heard about, and optical mission performance clusters. In her current work, she's working on evaluating the quality of optical satellite images and applying those results to map coastal habitats around the globe for blue carbon and seagrass ecosystem accounting. Here you go.
Thank you for the introduction. So, is this correct? So yeah, my name is Avi, and in this 5-minute talk, I'm going to walk you through our project called Global Seagrass Watch. So we are a small team of 4 people working in Berlin, Germany, under the German Aerospace Center. Mar, who presented earlier, she also used to intern with us, so I'm gonna refer to her talk quite often, so I don't repeat the same thing. We are funded by the German Aerospace Center and European Space Agency, Pew Trust through University of Oxford, and also we receive some technical support from Google Earth Engine through GEO. This is an overview of our methodologies. So we heavily utilize Google Earth Engine for most of our work. So what do we do and what for? We are using Earth observation for seagrass mapping and blue carbon estimation. Mar has already made an excellent explanation of what blue carbon is, and here I'm going to just show you a simplified version of the example of the process. So carbon dioxide sink to the water column, and then through photosynthesis, seagrass take this carbon and then sequester it into the soil, releasing oxygen, and then oxygen is sent back to the air. In this case, we have a moving anchor that is sweeping some of our seagrass meadow that causes the sequestered carbon to be released back into the water and then into the air. So here you can see the Sentinel-2, Copernicus Sentinel-2 satellite retrieving this image from the space by using the Google Earth Engine archive. We compose cloud-free image using thousands of these images. And then with the available field data, our machine learning algorithms, and also uncertainty analysis, we estimated the spatially explicit seagrass extent and depth, and also with available carbon data or literature, we can estimate the carbon stock that can be sequestered into the soil. For now, we only have the numbers, but we are aiming to also map the carbon stock in the future. You have seen the case study using the same framework in Balearic Islands in Mar's presentation earlier. So in this world map, you can see the countries whose seagrass extents we have mapped, and also the countries that we are still currently working on. The ones in green are the ones that we have already mapped, and the ones in red are the ones that are still in progress. So far, we have mapped 28 countries, covering roughly 47% of the global seagrass extent. We have the Bahamas, Mediterranean Seas, and East Africa. The Bahamas possess the world's second biggest continuous national seagrass meadows with a carbon stock potential of over 700 million megagrams. In comparison to that, the whole Mediterranean, consisting of 23 countries, have the seagrass carbon stock of over 800 million megagrams. Sorry, I forgot to show you that. And the East Africa, on the other hand, has a seagrass carbon stock of over 40 million megagrams. We are currently extending our mapping efforts in Belize, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and also Indonesia. Please reach out to us if you would like to collaborate in our mapping efforts in any of these countries or even to propose other ones. We also have a Google Earth Engine app. It is still a work in progress, but you can already access it. You can go through this link or through this QR code. In this app, we provide the seagrass maps and also the cloudless satellite images composite that we compose for the study areas. And there is also a box where you can select the country of your interest, and then the map will zoom into the area and give you the information of the seagrass extent and also the blue carbon. Our publications are also listed here, so is our LinkedIn page, so please visit our web app to access all of our work. Our colleague Spiros will also do a demo of this app tomorrow at 6 p.m., so please come and join us. So at the end, this could be us if we can go to the field and dive and get information on seagrasses ourselves, but we are focused on developing our Earth observation framework. So we would love to meet and also work with people who share the same passion with us. So feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of the session.
Thank you so much. I'll put it right there. Thank you very much. We all know a lot more about seagrass now. Okay, our next speaker is Mayumi Cursino de Moura Hire, a researcher from the University of Sao Paulo and coordinator of the urban theme at the Map Biomass project. She graduated from the Faculty of Architecture and Urbanism at the University of Sao Paulo, and she has master's degrees in remote sensing from the National Institute of Space Research in Brazil. She participates in the Map Biomass project, coordinating the mapping of urban areas. Welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'd like to begin highlighting that I'm part of Map Biomass project, mapping urban areas in Brazil. And last year, Map Biomass was contacted by an NGO called Formigas de Embaúba. Formigas in English mean ants, and Formigas de Embaúba is a kind of ant commonly found in Embaúba trees. Formigas' work is to plant tiny forests in public schools. They have implemented 11 tiny forests, planting 10,000 trees. But they are not planting only trees. They are planting tiny forests, Atlantic forests in the schools. And then they do that using Miwak method, which is seedlings are densely planted and native species are carefully chosen to reproduce ecological succession with common companion plants. And they do that involving students, teachers, principals, parents, all the neighbors of the schools, all schools community in a learning and caring process. But they don't do maps. That's why they came to us and asked our help to map all suitable areas to plant tiny forests in São Paulo schools. Suitable areas are areas larger than 140 square meters, no pavement, no buildings, and no tree cover. Slope must be lower than 20%, and they must be inside a school's plot. Then we did what most of us here do. We build a machine learning process using Google Earth Engine. We gather all available data to build masks. From Map Biomass, we build water mask. From LiDAR data, we build buildings and tree cover masks. And we also used LiDAR data to calculate slopes. Then we used planet images of 2021 and performed a random forest classification. The outcomes were the open, unpaved areas with a slope lower than 20%. Then we took the educational census data and plot limits from municipality databases to calculate the amount of suitable areas per school. An important part of our work was to dialogue with Formigas' team. We needed an interface in which they could visualize the results, but also inspect and even validate our results. So Julia here, she built an app using Google Engine tools, and she trained volunteers to validate the results. The results. From all public schools in São Paulo, we could get complete data for 2,000 schools. Complete data is the identification and also the plot of the school. we found suitable areas in 643 public schools with our machine learning process. Human inspection reduced the amount of public schools to 300 schools. The main errors we could find was especially the misidentification of school plots in the municipality database. Areas were also not validated because they have changed since 2021, or because they have another usage. We found 247,000 square meters for tiny forests, and this could lead to 11,000 tons of carbon sequestration per year. So this is a school in our app. This is a suitable areas that we mapped. Here we can see that schools sometimes are the only available areas to plant trees in a place like São Paulo. Schools are also safe environments for kids to get contact with nature. So to finish, I would like to say that I understand the job that we did with geospatial intelligence and machine learning as a very strong support to groups like Formigas Jimbaúba. They are committed to involve schools, community, and public authorities in a transformative change.
All right, thank you. Okay, our next speaker is number 7. We're well past halfway now. Takuto Shimode, who works for Mitsui & Co. in Japan. He utilizes remote sensing data for forest J-credit generation projects in Japan. He holds a master's degree in aeronautics and astronautics from the University of Tokyo with a specialization in remote sensing. He previously conducted research on farmland analysis using optical satellites and developed integration methods for multiple types of satellite data. He's currently focused on verifying the application of satellite data in forestry, particularly in areas where data utilization has not been widely adapted. Come on up.
Okay. Hi, thank you. So, okay, my name is Takuto Shimode from Mitsui & Co. And we're trading an investment company specializing in a wide range of sectors. In the field of forestry, in Japan, we have 44,000 hectares of forest. And our goal is to realize a sustainable cycle that maximizes the various values of a forest and then ensures that these values are giving back to the forest. And for that purpose, we are creating credits through the domestic forest J-credit scheme with forest owners in Japan. Under Japan's forest J-credit scheme, credits are issued for additional CO2 absorption based on the implementation of appropriate practices as thinning, as shown in the figure on the left. And at the same time, even within the system, the monitoring the state of the forest is also required. Additionally, this monitoring is extremely important for ensuring the quality of credit, which has become a serious problem globally. However, it may not be practically feasible in actual large-scale project. So this image shows the schematic forest distribution in an actual project in Okayama Prefecture in Japan, where thousands of forested areas are scattered over an area with 7,000 square kilometers. I actually visited one of the sites, but it took me about an hour by car to check each site, and it was very impractical to check all of the site. Furthermore, even if we are able to visit the local forest, they are often covered with trees, and especially in Japan, the slopes are very steep. And in addition, the boundaries of each forest site are also covered with grasses. So the only thing that can be confirmed is the presence or absence of trees. So in such a situation, the satellite data is suitable for efficient and comprehensive confirmation. So specific example of satellite application include near real-time land classification using dynamic world product. And confirmation of current condition based on this classification is done. Furthermore, by retaining the dynamic world product described earlier using domestic teacher data on the one, we can capture even more small changes that occur in forested area. So this image shows the example, and we can check the road confirmation to bring timbers. But on the other hand, while small changes can be captured, there are a lot of noises increasing, so we have to adjust those balances. Furthermore, to increase the robustness of the analysis, we are also considering anomaly detection and change detection using various time series data as a different approach for previous one. On the left of the screen is Seagrass's CCD-CSMA method for change detection using time series analysis of Landsat. The yellow highlighted areas can be visualized in the time series graph below. For example, in this case, the changes around 2017 are clearly visible. So the light figure shows the result of the analysis for target site based on this method, and the year of change can be seen in the grayscale. While the combination of these satellite analyses can increase efficiency and accuracy, but the 100% accuracy is difficult to achieve. So therefore, we have created a tool for visualizing visual confirmation on Google Earth Engine as well, and are now working to increase transparency by combining analysis and visual confirmation. But we are still improving our methods, and any feedback is welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, our next speaker is Isaiah Lyons Galante, a grad student from the University of Colorado Boulder. Isaiah studies geospatial artificial intelligence. He's currently developing a framework for remote impact assessment of international development projects. He previously worked for 6 years in Kenya, deploying solar mini-grids in rural communities across Sub-Saharan Africa, and he holds a Bachelor of Science in Physics and Mechanical Engineering from Yale. Isaiah.
Cheers. Hi, everybody. There we go. I'm Isaiah. This is my talk. So the key challenges that I've been working on both in the field and now at school is the fact that there's still about 600 million people living without electricity in Sub-Saharan Africa. In addition to that, if we bring them online in the way that much of the rural US was connected, we would be adding megatons of fossil fuel and emissions into the air. So how can we both connect the unconnected and do so in a way that is future-proof and better for our climate? Enter mini-grids. This is what I was up to for the previous 6 years before grad school in Kenya. This is a photo I took in Tanzania of one of our projects. These 3,000 watts of solar were enough to power 50 homes and businesses in one community. So why I left practice to research is to study the impacts of things like this. This is that same village from Google Earth from a couple months ago. So I'm wondering how does the construction of these mini-grids impact these communities? And because they're quite far, this one in particular takes 2 days by ground travel to reach, can we do this type of impact assessment with remote sensing? So I started with nightlight data. There's a body of research from maybe a decade ago showing that that's a known proxy for economic development. I thought it would be easy peasy. We built a mini-grid, and obviously this village must get brighter. So I took my mini-grids. I had about 50 sample sites from the company I previously worked at, and I took the average brightness of these villages over time and subtracted out the surrounding areas and took annual composites to really distill the signal from the noise. So what did I find? More questions than answers, unfortunately. Here are the two figures I made on the left from Nigeria and on the right from sites in Sierra Leone. And what I see is a very faint signal that these communities are getting brighter faster than their surroundings. Is it because of mini-grids? Unclear. They were for sure getting brighter before the mini-grid was constructed. There's a lot of noise in nightlight data. These villages are on a range of 0 to 60 possible brightness values. These villages are all under 1. One of the brightest possible values is 0.7. So there's just a lot of inherent noise in that. And there's other challenges with things like moonlight and flares. So what's next? I'm going to keep talking to some colleagues that I know that work a lot with nightlight data, but I'm hoping to work now with daytime imagery. To do that involves extracting features from the data. So be able to apply my coursework in machine learning and all these cool tools that people have been talking about to extract those features and correlate them with key economic indicators. Luckily, I won't have to go out and conduct a bunch of surveys myself. A growing body of research has shown that we can predict ground survey results just with these deep learning models. Yeah, so hope to get a much more granular resolution and cut through the noise to find more of a signal. I've also got to increase my sample size. I'm up to 1,000 mini-grids that I've collected along with their commissioning years, and hopefully beyond that, I'd get a chance to go back to visit these sites and to collect qualitative ground data to corroborate whatever it is that I'm finding and give a more nuanced view to how these communities are changing. Turns out you can make a QR code for anything, so that one emails me, and you should use it. I'd love to talk more about my research or career advice or whatever it is you'd like to talk about. Cheers.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, our second to last speaker is Brian Ho. Brian is a product manager on the Delve team here at Google. Prior to Google, Brian was a director of customer experience at Sidewalk Labs and a designer and technologist at the Boston Mayor's Office of New Urban Mechanics. Brian has an MDE from Harvard's Graduate School of Design and School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. He earned a bachelor's degree in architecture from Yale University. Brian.
And Patrick.
We'll go first. I'm Patrick. Bonus Patrick.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Let's see.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Hey everyone, I'm Patrick. I'm product manager on the Earth team. I'm going to be joining Brian here today. So, you all know Google Earth. Google Earth is really one of the most detailed models of the world there is, with satellite imagery, street view, 3D, and so forth. Coupled as a canvas, coupled with easy to use tools that allows really anybody to use the product. Pairing these together, you can create these rich multi-dimensional Earth projects that are used to communicate location, context, and so forth, and is a phenomenal product and canvas to use for site selection, to orient yourself on the built and natural environment. And and today, the product is being used across a range of different use cases, from visualization to analysis to planning, field operations, and so forth. And it's also a commonly used tool for urban development, sustainable urban development in particular. So I don't know if you caught the plenary talk earlier this morning, but we did announce an initial integration with Delve, which is an awesome product that allows urban planners and designers, architects to make smarter decisions and really optimize the built environment. So I'm going to hand it over to Brian to talk more about how that works. Thanks, Patrick. So very quickly, it was so incredible to see all the tools everyone here is building with Google tools, and I like to think of this as another example of tools we can build together to improve sustainability. So very short, Delve is an early stage evaluation tool for real estate development, clean energy development, urban design, planning, and architecture. And it is a generative design tool. So what it does is it generates lots of options, it evaluates them against a cost function, and then it finds and ranks the best designs that solve for project criteria. So a little bit about what we're scoring for. As you might know, developers have a lot of project priorities and requirements. But when it comes to built environment, what we're really trying to drive with Delve is sustainable outcomes. So we're actually measuring generated building designs for things like their embodied emissions, the carbon footprint of concrete or steel that goes into the structure,
the operational emissions, so things like the energy intensity of the building depending on its program mix and its orientation to daylight and ability to take advantage of things like solar heat gain or shading. But we're also, of course, measuring for the human things that matter, so walkability, quality of life scores, views, and also the nuts and bolts of any development project, the financials, the spreadsheets, if you will. So that's Delve in a nutshell. The way we've come together with Earth has been, I think, really a great collaboration, and again, a nice way to illustrate the ways in which we can all build tools together. And so what you can now do with Delve and Earth is you can select your site in Google Earth, you can generate designs for it in Delve, and you can put those designs back into Delve. And so this video, should it play, and maybe it won't. Okay, well, you'll have to imagine it. As a subtle plug, we are demoing this tool later today at 6 p.m., so come by our demo station and see it in action. But what you'll basically see is exactly what I described. You can use the immersive map in Delve, select your site, bring it into the Delve tool, generate design options, and bring them back into Earth for visualization. And so I think the QR code gives you a link to sign up for access. Seeing is believing, so do come by and find us later. And we're happy to show you what it looks like. Apologies for the video not working. Thank you.
Okay, impressive. 2 speakers and on time. Okay, our last speaker is Jeff Cardile, a professor at McGill University. As an early adopter of Earth Engine, Jeff uses Earth Engine daily in his research and teaching. His Bayesian updating of land cover algorithm developed in Earth Engine ingests classifications, smoothing inconsistencies through time and accumulating evidence of land cover change and stability. Through the years, one of the challenges in training new graduates and undergraduates has been finding training materials that teach both fundamentals and present interesting applications. Jeff hopes that this effort will work its way into university courses and also self-motivated individual study. Jeff.
Okay, great. Big button. Big button. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. As you see here, my name's Jeff Cardile, and I'm really speaking on behalf of the 100 people who wrote this book. And I'll tell you about that project here for just a couple of minutes. As you saw, this slide here today showed that we've got fundamentals and applications in this book. And we have the idea is for any person to be able to find something in the book that is useful for them. And so we've designed multiple entry points, which I'll show you here just for a moment. So you can see if you're an absolute beginner, you could perhaps start over here at section F1 under Programming and Remote Sensing Basics. If you know a little bit about that, you've taken like Earth Engine 101, you could start at F2 for interpreting images or maybe advanced image processing. If you're interested in programs like CCDC and Landtrender, you can see there are chapters on those here, as well as a more general chapter on fitting sine waves, so that as an intro to those. And then as well, Vectors and Tables, written by Ujjwal Gandhi, who many of you saw in several settings today already. Advanced topics as well, and then these really important and I think really interesting applications. Human applications, aquatic and hydrological applications, and terrestrial applications. So we have about 30 chapters of the one kind and 30 chapters, 25 chapters or so of the other kind. And we are producing videos for all of them. That's what these little check marks are. So when I procrastinate, that's what I do, is I go and copy little check marks onto this page. And we have about half of those videos done. We'll be doing more for the rest of this semester, rest of this year, up until about December 4th. So we often say it's impossible to thank everyone who worked on a project, but it is literally impossible to put 100 little tiny squares on a page. There are at least, I think, 7 people who I see on this slide who are here at this conference. So if you do see any of them, you can come and ask them about their chapter. They did really great work. It was a truly unbelievable experience for me because I got to live in a world where everyone delivers everything on time. I'm not really an on-time person, but somehow all of these people would turn things in when I would ask them. So it's really, truly an amazing group. And what you, if you want to learn more about it, you can come to the demo station, which is right after this. after, well, it's 6 o'clock, right around the dinner time. So what we're going to do there is any authors who are in the neighborhood, if you come up and ask a question, hey, tell me about the book, I'll say, hello, author, come on over here and show us your chapter. So there is a live ability to code, ability to look at the code. We have a very carefully vetted repository, and everything's been tested. It's, I don't like to oversell things, but I think there's a lot there for people to be able to use. And so you can catch a videotaping. The next one is October 16th for mangroves, and you can try it out and use this wonderful QR code for connecting. All right, thanks very much.
All right, I don't know about you all, but I find that book really interesting. One of my favorite things to do with large language models is to tell the model that it's an author of the book and it should produce code and examples to that standard. It works not terribly. So yeah, the book has many uses and can be used in many dimensions. So thank you. A quick round of applause for all 10 of our speakers here today. They did a wonderful job staying on time. We're now going to go into a 15-minute break. We do have this room all the way through the networking session, so if folks want to stick around here and chat with the speakers or other folks about climate mitigation, this room is available. You can also, of course, go chat with other folks along the way through the networking event as well. I want to thank you all for showing up here today. I'm going to find all of those speakers and see if I can get the next 10 or 15 minutes of those talks. So thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the conference.